In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the optimal control setup for your controller in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm intending for this video to be for both new players and veteran players of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I will be explaining some concepts such as tilt attacks and aerials, so that way everybody can be informed on the conversation and stay in on the loop. I will try to keep it brief, but I want everybody to be informed so they can understand why I have the controller set up the way that I do. And also, I wanted to let you guys know that with my current recording setup, I'm having to film my actual monitor because my capturing of my gameplay is currently not working. So I hope that the setup is to your all standards and that it works well enough to get my point across, because I wanted you guys to be able to see these moves as I'm talking about them, as having a visual representation as well as auditory will be more beneficial for you. So I'm going to throw up my controller scheme that I currently have somewhere up on this video, that way you can always have access to it while you're watching this. So if you look at my controller scheme, the first things that you'll notice that'll probably jump out is that I have, no pun intended, but that I have two jumps on my left side of my controller, on my left bumper and my left trigger. I also have one on X, but the one on X is honestly unimportant, which I'll get into later on in the video. But the jumps on the left and the right are actually extremely important to this controller setup for several reasons. One of them being very simple, and the other ones will require time to explain, and I'll have to basically tie everything back into itself so you understand why. But before that, as you can see, I've got the two jumps on the left, I've got a shield on my right trigger, an attack on my right bumper, and then I've got my tilts on my right stick down there. Obviously my taunts and my movement on my left analog stick can't be changed. And then I've got a grab on Y, a special on B, and then an additional attack on A, and an additional jump on X. That X and A button, I'll get into those later, but you can just see those as unimportant buttons. So let's start off with the jumps. So I'm going to do my left bumper jump right here. You can see I do my left trigger jump right here. So they're the exact same thing. There's nothing special about putting them on either button. However, there's a mechanic in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate called short hopping. So this right here is a full hop, right? A short hop is what it sounds like. It's this. You don't jump that high, right? You barely jump off the ground. So how you do a short hop, you can do it in two different ways. In general, your jumps are usually meant to come out like this, right? But if you tap the jump extremely fast, right, you like barely tap it, you can do a short hop. Or the second way is that if you have a jump mapped to a second button, as I do here on my L and my left, on my left bumper and my left trigger, if you hit both of those jumps at the same time, you will also do a short hop. So you can really do the short hop either way, but the second method of hitting two jump buttons at the same time is actually in my opinion, I would recommend doing it that way. It's the way that one is easier, right? Because if you try to input this fast tap all the time, you may not always get it and accidentally do a full hop. And in certain fast-paced games, that could cost you your stock or your life or your advantage in that situation, right? So being able to do these short hops by hitting two of the jump buttons at the same time is a guaranteed way to always get the short hop out, right? So the ease of use and the guarantee is why I recommend at least having two jumps on your control, specifically on the left bumper and the left trigger, and I'll explain why as we more get into it. But that's one of the benefits of having two jump buttons, is that you always have access, guaranteed access to this short hop, right? Which you can combo into all types of different movement. And then there are some other extremely important reasons that have to do with the tilt stick, or the tilt attack. But before I get into that, I want to let you guys know that my neutral resting position on this controller, in terms of where my hands are, right, is that I've got my left index finger and left middle finger on the left bumper and the left trigger, and then same on the right side. I've got my right index finger and my right middle finger on the right bumper and the right trigger, right? So those back four buttons I'm always touching. And then my thumbs are resting in the centers of the analog sticks. So that's my neutral position on this controller. And as you can see, in that neutral position, I always have access to my jumps, to my shield, which is very important because that's how you do your dodges like so, right? And my attack and my tilt attacks. So I'm going to be explaining all these, right, because they're all very important, but let's move forward to the tilt attacks. So the tilt attacks, if you don't know, my normal attacks, which are on my RB, are basically this right here. That's my attack button, right? So if I just hit my attack button, that's my jab. I can also run and do a running attack, right, by running and inputting my attack button. However, there's something called tilt attacks. You can input tilt attacks by barely moving a directional input on your left analog stick and then hitting your attack button, right? However, there's an easier way. Just like with the short hop, there's an easier way. The easier way is to place your tilt attacks on your right analog stick. So on the right analog stick down here, I can literally just hit right here and do my forward tilt, back to do my back tilt, down to do my down tilt, and up to do my up tilt. It's literally that easy, and it comes out every single time. If you try to use your directional input and your attack button to do your tilt attacks, you can do it, but when you're moving around really fast and moving your controller back and forth, it can sometimes, it's just not as efficient and you can mess it up. So it's just a guaranteed way, once again, to get a guaranteed easy way to get your tilt attacks out. So that's why I had the tilt attack button mapped there. However, there's also another benefit that will tie into the jumps as well, to have your tilt attack be right there. So there's another move in this game called, or moves called aerials. So right here I've got my neutral air, and you can only perform these moves while you're in the air, whether you jump or you get knocked up, whatever. My up air right there, my forward air, and my back air, and my down air. So once again, there's two different ways to input these moves. When you're in the air, just like with tilt attacks, you can input a direction and then your attack, right? Just like so. So I'm inputting the forward direction and then hitting A, right? And I'm doing my forward air. Or the back direction and A for my back air. Same thing with the up and the down, right? The up direction and the down direction. Or for your neutral air, you just simply jump without inputting any directional input and you just hit your attack button. So these aerials actually aren't that hard to do this way, but there's a reason why the second way that you can do aerials is via your tilt stick. So just like so, when I jump in the air, I can just hit forward on my tilt button, back for the back air, down for the down air, up for the up air, right? So that's the second way. And once again, this is a little bit easier. Honestly, the other way is easy too in the air, but this is a bit easier, and there's also an extreme benefit. Let me see if you can notice the difference before I tell it to you. So I'm going to do a forward air and a back air, but the first time I'm going to do a directional input in my attack button, right? And then on the second set, I'll use the tilt stick. So for the first set, I'm going to do the forward air and back air with the directional input and the attack button. Let me see if you can notice the difference. I'm going to do it one more time. Alright, now I'm going to switch over to the analog, I'm not the analog stick, to the tilt stick to do my forward air and my back air. Here we go. Alright, so did you notice the difference there? I'll do it one more time really quick, starting with the directional input in the air and the attack button. Alright, so you probably noticed the difference. If you didn't, that's okay. The difference is how much I move. So if you notice, when I input the forward direction in the A, I move slightly forward, right? Very, very slight. But if you hold it, you can definitely move a lot more forward. But basically, just by inputting that forward direction, my character model moves forward slightly, right? Same thing with the back. When I input the back direction, my character model moves back slightly, right? So as you can see, I can start on this little 5 line right here, and then suddenly I'm over here, right, when I land. However, if I use the tilt stick, right, to do my back air, boom, when I land, I'm like right there, right? So obviously your move always kind of moves you over just slightly, right, but not as much. So this is powerful because if you use your tilt sticks to do your forward air, back air, up air, right, you won't drift. And while you do want to drift sometimes you won't always drift, because there are some times where you don't want to drift, right? If you input the move using your directional, using your attack button and your directional input, then you will end up moving, right? So the reason this is significant, because let's say that I want to do this, right, where I attack you with a forward air, right, but I want to drift back while I do it, right, for like spacing reasons or whatever, right? So right now, as you can see with my tilt stick, I'm able to instantly move back, right? Like as soon as the move comes out, I can move back, I can move forward, I can do whatever I want, right? As soon as the move comes out. However, if you input the attack with your A button, you know, by doing the directional input in the air, by A button I mean your A attack button, which I have mapped to my top right bumper or my A button actually. So I'm gonna try it right now. So if I want to do, as you can see, I'm not drifting back as far, and my animation is I always start forward in my animation, and that's because I have to input a directional input forward, and if I want to drift backwards, I have to go backwards after that, right? So I have to bring my left analog stick all the way from the right side all the way to the left, and it always starts me off with a slight drift forward, right? So if you're trying to go for that perfect micro spacing and perfect control of your character, you're going to want to use the tilt stick to do your aerials, because I never have to, one, if I don't want to, I don't have to move, but then two, I can immediately start my back drift when I want to without having to deal with that forward drift lag or move my thumb on my left analog stick in a direction that I don't want to go. This is the same with the back air, right? If I want to move forward with it, you know, to kind of get a little bit closer to him, right? Or if I want to move the opposite way, right? Whatever I want to do. So that's one reason. That's another reason why I have the tilt stick there, is because it's very powerful for your aerials too, because you get a lot more granular control over your character's momentum and movement in the air. And then additionally, this ties back in with the jumps, right? So having those two jumps on your two left side of your triggers, right here, is that it gives you, is that in my neutral resting position on my controller, I always have access, like I said, to my full hop and my short hop. And your short hop is sometimes you want to do a short hop back air, just like that, right? Except you sometimes don't want to drift, right? But once again, if you have to use your A and your forward directional input to do your back air, you'll end up drifting kind of, or you may not even get your actual move out, right? It's basically harder to actually get your move out. And additionally, right, if I wanted to do a short hop and I didn't have these two buttons mapped, I'd have to like barely tap the jump button and then do a quick, you know, short hop. But there's a lot of mechanical error you can do. So the way I have it set up is it reduces that mechanical error, because you just hit these two back buttons on the left side to do the short hop, and then you hit the analog stick to the right to do your back air. Super simple. And then, but you know, if I didn't have these two jumps on the two back left triggers, then it can cause some more complications, because, you know, as you can see, I have a jump mapped to like X, right? So if I want to do a short hop, you know, if I want to be slightly optimized, I could do the short hop by hitting my left bumper here and then my X button, right? So at the same time. However, I have to move my right thumb to my X button, right? Which means that I can't get back to my tilt stick. So as you can see, if I do it really fast, I can get to my tilt stick. But if you're just slightly slow, you know, by moving your thumb back and forth to your tilt stick to do your aerial, you won't be able to get your actual aerial out. Because like I said, you don't want to be doing your aerials with your A and directional input, because one, they can come out slow too, especially if you're hitting like, you know, the left bumper and X to jump and then moving over to A and a directional input, and then you have to drift back, right? Like if I just wanted to do a simple drift like this, right now with my setup, it's literally that easy. However, if I wanted to do it where I had to do like, you know, left bumper and X to be able to jump like this, and then I had to do a forward on my left analog stick and A to do the back air like this, right, where it like brings me forward, you know, the unoptimized way, and then input my drift the other direction, it would look like this. Like, you can do it, but you're not drifting as far as you can see, and you can sometimes mess it up and your animation comes out a little wonky. You're not drifting as far. Whereas with my controller set up, I'm literally always drifting as far as I want to go, right? And that's because I've made it very easy in the sense of, like I said, you've got the two jumps on the left side, and then all you have to do to input your back air is literally just hit right, if you're facing this way anyways, on your right bottom analog stick, And then to drift at the same time, as soon as you jump, you can literally hit your left analog stick to drift whichever way you want, whether that's left, down, or right. You know, as soon as you jump, you can drift at the same time, you know, in whatever direction that you actually want. You know, so if you want to do a back air fast fall, right? So yeah, so the control setup just makes it super easy. And then when you're in a fast-paced battle like this, it's very nice to be able to, in your neutral hand position without ever having to move your fingers, you have access to all your movement options, and they're very optimized. Like, you know, you're very acrobatic with it in terms that you're always on point. So without ever moving my hands, I have access to my full hop, to my short hop, right? To my dodge roll and my shield. Then I have access to these aerials, right, without moving, and then I can also get this extremely good drift control on my aerials too, right? So I have access to basically all of this without ever moving my hands. And one thing to note, one of the reasons why I have an attack button on the right bumper is because the only way to perform your neutral air, which is this move right here on this character, is by hitting your attack button. So you can't do it with your tilt sticks. I did figure out some type of, I think it's a bug where you could input your neutral air with your tilt, but I don't think that that's intentional. So for all intents and purposes, you cannot input your neutral air with your tilt sticks, let's just say, right? So that means you're stuck with your attack button. So if I didn't have that attack button on that right bumper, I'd have to move my thumb all the way from my tilt stick all the way over to A just to do my neutral air, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're in the middle of an intense fight and you have to decide between your neutral air or your forward air or whatever you want to use, right? Not having to move your thumb is less brain power, and it's very nice because you may end up messing it up. So like when I want to do a neutral air, my hands are always in the same position. I just jump up and I hit my right bumper. If I'm in the air and I want to do a forward air, then I use my tilt attack stick on my right analog stick, right? It's as simple as that. And then on the ground, once again, I have access to my jabs via my right bumper, as well as my tilt attacks via my tilt stick. So that's why I have the attack right there. That's why I have the back buttons the way they are. As I said, you need 2 jump buttons, in my opinion, on your back buttons to do that short hop, because otherwise you'll have to move your thumb, your right thumb, away from your tilt attack to be able to hit that jump button, which I have mapped to X, right? You don't want to do that because you want to immediately be able to do a short hop and do your forward air like so, right? And you can do that by hitting both the jump buttons in the back and by tilting the tilt attack stick forward, right? And it's literally that simple. However, if you had to move your thumb all the way over to X to like jump and then back to the tilt attack, it's just a lot of movement for your thumb. It can make your thumb tired, you can mess it up. And technically you can't do it as fast, right? And that depends on the animations and stuff, but yeah, you technically, in some situations, you won't be able to do it as fast. So that's why I recommend having 2 jumps somewhere on the back 4 buttons. I have them on the left side because having them both on the left side basically means that it's easy to remember, and it's also very easy to hit. You know, if I want to jump high, I hit the top left bumper. If I want to jump short, I hit them both at the same time. I value having that shield on that back bumper on the right side, or the back trigger, like I said, because I want to have access to my movement options all the time. And having it on the right side is nice because it's good balance for my controls of my handling of my controller, right? Of my grip on it. Since my movement is on my left with my left thumb on my analog stick, when I jump up in the air to do these directional air dodges, it gives me a good grip on my controller. And like I said, I always have access to my movement options and my shield. And then as I said before, I like having access to my attack button to do my neutral air and my jabs on the ground in addition to my tilt. And then, as you can see, I have my grab and my special button on the Y and the B. I had these there specifically because they're the closest buttons to the tilt attack. So honestly, if you really wanted to, you could literally touch your right analog stick, the tilt attack stick, and the Y and B button all at the same time if you honestly want to. I personally prefer having my thumb over the tilt stick on the right side because it just gives me more fine-tuned control, especially depending on which character you're playing, like the one that a CPU called Kazuya, right here. And I can get into more reasons about that in a second. But anyways, they're the closest buttons to your tilt stick, and so they're super easy to get to, right? Whenever I want to do a special, that's all I have to do. If I want to grab, it's just extremely easy to hit that Y button and that B special. The reason I have the grab and special there and not on the back buttons is because I value having 2 jumps on the back buttons in Smash Ultimate because of the short hop in combination with the tilt attack aerials and the drift control that you can get when using all of those in conjunction, right? So that takes up 2 spots. I absolutely value having my shield on the back buttons because I always want to be able to have my finger on one of those buttons. So that takes up 3 slots. And then for that top right bumper, you know, you could honestly put whatever you want there. The reason I have the attack one there is, like I said, I don't have to move my hands to do a neutral air or my jabs. And that's actually very beneficial for pretty much every character in my opinion. You know, maybe your character, you want to have your special there. But I recommend not. I guess it depends on who you're playing. But for example, if you play Kazuya, let me see if I can turn the computer on to where I can control him. So unfortunately, okay, so I should be able to control Kazuya right now. Let me turn this other controller on. Yeah, so I can control him right now. However, he doesn't have the move set up that I have because he's a computer, and you can't change the computer's move setups. But I can still show you some stuff with him. So with Kazuya, he has most characters have only 4 tilts in the game, right? The back, up, down, and forward in terms of their tilts. Kazuya has 8, right? So he has like you know, forward, back, down, up, right? But then also he has like northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest, right? So there's an additional one right there. There's another one. Wait, no, sorry. There's one right there. One right here. Wait. So this second control I'm using is very small, so it's different. But yeah, this one right here, and then there's this one. So he has 8 different tilts on your, you know, that you can access with your tilt stick. And on him, these tilts are very important. So you always want to have, and there's 8 of them. So like your directional inputs have to be on point. So you're always going to want to have your thumb on that tilt stick in the center to be able to get the most accuracy and always have access to your tilts. However, with Kazuya 2, his jabs are also very good, right? And you always want to have access to these jabs as well as your neutral air, right? That's why I have the button on the R attack button up there, because it makes playing a character like Kazuya very easy. You have access to all your main moves without ever moving your hands, as well as Kazuya has combos. So like this move right here, right? You see I can chain it, and I can do like 1, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So on your tilt stick, it's actually kind of hard to hit that four times to get all 4 of these. However, on your tilt stick, you can start with your tilt stick and then transition into your right back bumper to get the final 3 hits. And since your hand position is always on your tilt stick and always on that right back bumper, you can basically do, I think that was his forward, this move right here is his, well, let's just say actually this one right here, it's easier to say. So this right here is his up tilt, right? You can do it once or you can do it twice, 1, 2, right? So you can start the animation by doing the up tilt, right, 1, and then you can finish it if you want to get the second follow-up just by hitting your right bumper on your controller since you have an attack map there, right? So 1, you can go, so you can go 1, 2. Because like I said, on the tilt stick it can be a bit difficult to hit this tilt stick up twice because of like how it takes the inputs on the controller. So this is just a more optimized way to always get your move out. And then also this is beneficial on a character like Min Min. If you don't know who she is, she's an arms character in the game. She basically has 2 extremely stretchy arms, like 2 long arms, and you can control her left arm, I believe, with her special move, which I have mapped to B, and you can control her right arm with the attack move. So since you can control these arms separately, you can basically have your thumb, if you want to, when you're playing Min Min, resting on the B on special, and you still have access to your main arm with your right index finger on the right top bumper. So that way your thumb isn't moving all over the place trying to switch between your attack and your special, right? So even on very specialized characters like Kazuya and Min Min, this setup provides an additional benefit in my opinion, which is why I have the attack button up there. In addition to, like I said, the neutral air and access to the to the jabs on the ground. So yeah, this is my optimal setup. You know, the other settings I have on here that you can change is I don't have the smash attack on your special and your neutral when you hit them, or your special and your regular attack. If you hit those both buttons at the same time, you can do your smash attack. I have that turned off because I don't want to accidentally fat finger and do a smash attack when I don't want to. I've got the left trigger, or not the left trigger, sorry. I've got the left stick jump off. So like you can, there's a setting and it automatically comes on to where your left stick, if you hit up on it, which I'm doing right now, will make you jump. Obviously mine's not making me jump because I have it turned off. You definitely want to turn this off because it'll mess with some of your tech. So I just would turn that off. You know, you have your jumps on your two back left buttons there. I have rumble off because I don't really care for the additional feedback, though it could have advantages or disadvantages. That's up for you to decide. And then I have my stick sensitivity set on high. You know, if you did want to put your smash attacks on where you hit B and A at the same time, you could. But honestly, this game's pretty good about, like, even when you put a forward direction input like so, on your smash attacks, your character doesn't actually move from his original spot. So doing your smash attacks like normal by holding A and a directional input really isn't that bad. So yeah, that's why I had that turned off. But yeah, this is my optimized control setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, I apologize for the setup that I have going on, since I couldn't actually video capture my gameplay to show you this. But I hope that you were able to follow along pretty well. And also hope that this control setup will help your mechanical gameplay, whether you're new or a veteran to the game. I do personally think for this game it is very optimized. As long as you're holding your controller, like I said, by having your middle fingers and your index fingers always on all four back buttons, and then your thumbs on the analog sticks, right? You're going to have access to every tech that you need to do in this game, from the short hops to the full hops to your air dodges and your spot dodges and your directional dodges, right? As well as having extreme precise control over your aerials and your drifting due to using your tilt attack on your aerials without having to move your fingers, and having access to be able to drift with your left analog stick without ever having to move your fingers, and all while still having access to your neutral airs and your jabs. So I think it's a very optimized setup, and like I said, you don't have to go very far to hit the grab button or the special button either. You know, whenever you want to hit the special button, it's just literally right there, right? I forgot to add this in the original recording, but this controller setup also greatly benefits the new character Sora. So I'll try to keep this brief because I know the video was already long, but in Sakurai's presentation, he goes over a 3-hit combo that Sora can do. I'll post that section of the presentation up in the background so you know what I'm talking about. But what the 3-hit combo is basically Sora can swing his Keyblade up to 3 times, and you can swing it once, twice, or 3 times, and you don't have to hit someone to complete these swings. So you can do this in the air, or if you do hit someone, you also have the option of swinging your Keyblade once, twice, or 3 times. So the reason this controller setup benefits that is because, according to that presentation, you can do this 3-hit combo from your neutral attack on the ground, which is your jab, from your forward tilt on the ground, and then from your neutral air or your forward air. And then in addition, how you can perform the combo is by hitting your attack button 3 times, right, or twice, or once, however much you want to do it. So for your forward tilt, right, it seems based off the presentation, or rather for your neutral attack, right, your jab attack, you can just hit the attack button 3 times, right? For your neutral air, when you're in the air, you would just hit your attack button 3 times too. It seems that for the forward tilt though, and the forward air, if I read the subtitles right, it looks like if you're using your tilt attack, you can just hold the tilt direction and it'll also complete the combo. So if I'm understanding that correctly, we should just be able to, like for example on the ground, if we do our forward tilt, we should just be able to hold our forward tilt over in that direction without snapping.
またボタン連打あるいは押しっぱなしで一部の技が3連コンボになります。これがあるとさらに原作っぽい動きになりますね。具体的には弱攻撃、横強攻撃、通常空中攻撃、前空中攻撃の4つが3連コンボになります。そのまま A、 前に入れて A、 空中でそのまま A、 空中で前に入れて A。 弱攻撃はスピード速め攻撃力低め、横強攻撃は比較してスピード遅め攻撃力高め、通常空中攻撃は牽制でオールラウンドに使え、前空中攻撃はステージ外に追い込むのに使えます。どちらも小ジャンプから使うことで地上戦に潜ります。小ジャンプ攻撃は攻撃ボタンとジャンプボタンを同時落ちするだけです。ブンブン振るっているだけでもある程度の脅威にはなります。ただし小ジャンプからだとヒットしなければ3発目が出る前に着地してしまいます。ヒットしない牽制なら2発止めにした方がいいかも。コンボ中にボタンを途中で止めて別の技につなぐのもありです。ちょっと忙しいですが空中途中止めの急降下で地上コンボにつなげる手もあります。実はコンボと単発止めで相手の吹っ飛ばしが変わっていることがあります。これは横強攻撃コンボ一発目に注目してください。相手が吹っ飛ばないですよね。これは単発止め、相手が吹っ飛ぶ、威力も異なります。
Top right bumper, which is our attack, and our thumb is pretty much always on that tilt stick right there. So with Sora, on the ground, if you don't want to hold the tilt stick over to the right, or if we can't, we'll have to play test it, you can just do your forward tilt once and then finish the combo up for the second and third hit by hitting your right bumper with your right index finger. It's that simple. And same in the air. You know, we discussed how you'll want to be using your tilt stick in the air to perform your aerials because you get maximum drift control on your character. So to perform Sora's 3-hit combo with his forward air, right? Then when you're in the air, you can do your forward tilt to start the combo, right? To do the forward air. And then you can finish the combo very easy by hitting your right top bumper with your right index finger for the second and third hits. And like I said, since our fingers are always on those buttons, it's extremely easy and efficient to do. Because as you can see in my controller setup, you know, the X and the A buttons are just extra, right? But I do have an attack mapped over there to A. So just imagine if you're playing Sora, right? And for these 3-hit combos, right, when you're in the air, if you want to do your forward air, right, but then do the 3-hit combo, but you want to use your attack button to finish it, right? Then you'll have to basically do the forward air when you're in the air using your tilt stick and then move your thumb all the way over to your A button to hit that A button twice really, really fast, right? So you can get that second and third hit. And then that can be exhausting for your thumbs. Or with Sora 2, since you can do your 3-hit combo out of your neutral air, right? That means if your thumb is normally on your tilt stick area, then when you're in the air, you have to move your thumb all the way over to your A button to do your neutral air and your 3-hit combo, right? So you'll constantly be moving your finger back and forth between your A attack button and your tilt stick, right, on your right analog stick. But fortunately, the way we have our controls set up is that we have that attack button mapped to our top right bumper using our right index finger. So we never have to move our finger away from the tilt attack. So we always have access to our neutral air and our jabs on the ground and in the air. And we also have access to our tilts and and performing our aerials with our tilts. So this is going to be very beneficial to Sora because of his 3-hit combo. Because this 3-hit combo with Sora, for my opinion, is going to be an essential part of his gameplay. So you're going to be constantly doing these 1, 2, or 3-hit combos to throw your enemy off. So it's going to be very important that you can perform these on point every time and when you want to. And another thing that Sakurai mentioned in the presentation is that you can do these 3-hit combos out of a short hop. And I take it that he specifically mentioned that because that's going to be a core mechanic with Sora and a very powerful move. Probably if you space it right, it could be safe on shield too. So what I'm saying is that while short hops are a core mechanic for every character in the game, Sora, and honestly every character can make use of them in the game very, very well. But it seems that with Sora's mechanics that he's going to not be reliant on the short hop by any means, but that short hop into his Keyblade swing, into his 3-hit combo is going to be a very powerful set of moves. So it's also good that with the controller setup that I have right now, that we can always do that short hop on command thanks to the left bumper and the left trigger that we already went over in the video, while still giving us access to our tilts and our neutral airs and our attack button on that top right bumper to always be able to get out our 3-hit combos on Sora. Also, the very last thing here is that one thing that Sora can do as well, or he may be able to do, is that with his 3-hit combos, you may be able to delay the timing that the second and third hit comes out, even if only slightly. I know with Kazuya's twin pistons, you can do that. Like if you hit your up tilt with him and then delay your second up tilt or your second input on your attack when you want to do the twin pistons, that you can delay the timing just slightly. This can be useful in very micro situations, but Sora may be able to do this on his 3-hit combo as well. I'm not sure if the 3-hit combo is always going to come out at the same rate, or if you can make it come out at a different rate, whether that's very large or very micro. If you can make it come out at a slightly different rate, then our controller setup is also very nice, because in order to make it come out at a different rate, you're not going to want to hold the tilt stick to complete his 3-hit combos if you do your forward tilt or your forward air, right, with your tilt stick, because if you hold the tilt stick, it's probably always going to do the combo at the same exact rate. But however, if let's say your forward air, right, if you start your forward air on Sora with your tilt stick by hitting it to the right, you're facing the right side of the screen, then you can finish the combo, as I discussed, by hitting your attack button with your right index finger on your right bumper. You can finish the combo for the second and third hits using that. But since you're tapping the button, you'll be able to delay the timing, if we can, on Sora's 3-hit combo, right? So you start the combo with the tilt stick in the air, and then you finish the combo by tapping your right bumper for the second and third hits. And if we can delay the timing, this is definitely the way that you're going to want to do it, because this gives you the power to change up your timing when you actually tap it. And like I said, it's really great that we have access to all these buttons in our neutral holding position on our controller. We have access to the neutral air, to the jabs on the ground, to the tilts on the ground, and using the tilt stick in the air for the aerials. So yeah, I think this control setup greatly benefits Sora, as well as the other niche characters such as Min Min and Kazuya. But yeah, I'm happy that this works well with Sora as well, in addition to all the other characters in the roster. So once again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them up in the chat. And thank you for listening.